Hello, Sia Spiliopoulos Åkermark. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, should we start talking about who you are in this project and what your position are currently?
Yes, so I'm working as a researcher and the director at the Åland Islands Peace Institute, which is a small institute in the Åland Islands in the middle of the Baltic Sea. And the Åland Islands are a group of islands which have an autonomous status. And I think what is interesting from the perspective of this project is, of course, that being an autonomy, you have legislative and administrative competence in a whole range of issues, such as health, education, and the environment, which all are crucial in the spheres that we have looked at within the project.
Thank you. So you have participated in this project called Turning the SDGs and Human Rights into a Reality, which is on SDGs, human rights, and localization. And what is localization, according to you?
Yes, thank you for this last. According to me, there is no absolute definition of localization, but as we have used it in the project, it has been about transposing what is in human rights undertakings, as well as in the Sustainable Development Goals, to the local level. Which means both local authorities like kommuner, as we say here, local communities, but in this case of the Åland Islands, also at the level of the regional authorities, so, since we only have 30,000 people all in all on the Åland Islands. And as I understand, localization is both about the structures and interactions on the one hand, but it is also a question of the internalization, how those responsible and people in general know what they know and how they understand these norms that are embedded in human rights on the one hand and in SDGs on the other hand.
So what is it that you have studied in this project in particular?
Yes, so we were very happy that we were invited in this cooperation, not only because it's nice not to work on your own, but also because this is a rather new field of research and also of empirical analysis. Until now, I would say that the interface between human rights and SDGs has not yet been looked at in detail, and especially not at the local level. So we were very happy to be in this cooperation as such. What we could look at, what we proposed, and we have looked at a little bit more deep, is two things. One, the work of Save the Children on the Åland Islands, using the Convention on the Rights of the Child as the main starting point for all work done. So a very human rights-based approach on that side. And then we have also looked at a completely different new experiment, which is called Bärkraft. It's a play game with words, both berries and power, but also to carry something forward. And this is a network of both public authorities at different levels, local, regional authorities, and specific thematic authorities. Then civil society organizations, and also the business sector, the private sector. This network tries to push for the implementation of SDGs in the Åland Islands. And it was established effectively first in 2016, so it's still very, very new. So these are the two experiments, the two case studies that we have looked at in the Åland Islands.
So what would you say, when they work together successfully, the civil society organizations and the local authorities, what does it look like when the collaboration is successful, would you say?
I think as a lawyer, I'm a lawyer by background, we know that institutional frameworks, including legislation, is in one sense only the starting point. It's not the end of any question, it's the starting point of trying to align societal developments to these aspirations that are, for example, in human rights norms or in the Convention on the Rights of the Child and in the SDGs. So this takes a lot of effort. And in the human rights-based approach, public authorities are seen as a crucial guarantor and the main responsible for the implementation. But we know by experience and by studies that, of course, this is not only possible unless you have on board many others, both within the public sector, within private sector, and not least within civil society. And one reason why I think it is particularly accurate with regard to the Åland Islands is that there is a long historical tradition and currently a very active civil society life on the Åland Islands with more than 370 civil society organizations in a place with 30,000 inhabitants. So you can see that it's, on the one hand, perhaps a bit chaotic, but there is a lot of energy and commitment in things that have to do with climate and environment, as also with social issues and human rights issues. So I think no one questions nowadays that you need this type of cooperation. And what we have looked at in the case of the Save the Children is we have looked at the work and the effort done to have child assessments done at the local levels. It has been the Save the Children on Åland organization that has developed the tools. How could it look like when local municipalities take decisions, for example, on childcare issues or on schooling issues that affect children? So we could see here how the civil society sector becomes a catalyst of development. On the other hand, it cannot be done unless those who take the formal decisions understand and endorse the questions that are raised. And then the other case was the Bärkraft, the network on sustainability. And there we have seen that we are very much in the start of the development. It is perhaps even a little bit difficult to know how it will work. But on the positive side, there are two very clear ambitions, goals that have to do with the social aspects. In the cooperation, if I may read it, one is Goal 1 on social sustainability, happy people whose inherent resources increase, which is as such, of course, very ambitious. And on the other hand, the second goal, everyone feels trust and has real possibilities to participate. So trust and participation as the second goal. These are the priorities that have been formulated by the network itself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we have been looking at.
So apart from what you already shared now, is there any other results or conclusion that you would like to share?
Yes, I think that there are perhaps two things in addition to this fact that yet the intersection between environmental and human rights perspectives has not really been articulated. If you want to put it this way, the theory is not yet there. And this is not the fault of any of the organizations or the experiments that we look at. It's just the stage of societal development that we are at. The problem, as I see it, is that we do not have a chance. We have to do both environmental, we do not have a choice. We have to do both environmental, climate-oriented work and human rights work at the same time. The other thing which I think is crucial in the difference of approaches is the issue of accountability and transparency, because this is what I see as the advantage of the human rights-based approach, that there is a clear, responsible whom to blame and criticize if things are done wrongly. In a complete fusion and merger of responsible voices, then it is difficult for citizens to require accountability and justiciability. And for that reason, I think it is very good that this project has looked at the human rights-based approach and its role in the sustainability goals, which we will be working further on in the future.
Thank you so much for that. And if you would continue digging into this project, is there anything else that you would like to address?
Well, there were many things that we didn't have time to do. And we have been discussing it quite a lot in the final seminar of the project. That is, how should indicators of SDG implementation and human rights-based approach implementation be developed at the local level? We have some efforts, but they are a little bit pick and choose still. Yes, so there is not a systematic approach of how to do this combination of SDGs in what we here in the Åland Islands call färdplaner, roadmaps. The second question, which I think is important from the legal and political point of view, is how do you distinguish these roadmaps or indicator sets from government programs and legislative programs, which are a formal tool of the local government or the responsible local authorities? So that remains. And finally, I think that it will be important in the future to follow up not only on the participatory track, which is very strong in the SDG debate, that is that all affected are included in decision making affecting them, but also to follow up in the substantive rights. And I'm thinking, for example, the right of children to play. How do the local authorities address a substantive right, not only that young people and children are heard, but actually that their rights are fulfilled? So I think that we as civil society and as researchers, we have quite a lot of good openings in the future in this field.
That sounds like there are quite a lot of things to investigate further. So let's hope for a continuation of some form. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much, Sia, for sharing your conclusions and your thoughts on this project. It was very nice talking to you.
Thank you to the Raoul Wallenberg Institute and all the partners for excellent cooperation and many difficult questions that we have had to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you.